1 year ago now, I set up this aquarium right here. And for the past year, I have tried out an experiment. Because keeping aquariums can get expensive. Apart from the initial high startup costs, the running costs of food, fertilizer, power bills, etc. will add up over time. But what if your aquarium could actually pay for itself? And that's the question I wanted to answer with this tank. Could I make the aquarium economically sustainable by selling from the stock inside so that it essentially funds itself? And to my surprise, it has worked very well. I've been able to cover the running costs just by selling fish, shrimp, snails and plants that my aquariums naturally produce. And in today's video, I want to show you exactly how I've done it, how I made my pricing strategy and what you should think about for yourself if you want to try it. The system that I have here is actually very simple. Everything I sell comes out of this one tank alone. That also means that there's no breeding setups, no separate grow-out tanks, and this makes this setup extremely space efficient. I sell fish, shrimp, snails and plants. All of these are species that reproduce easily, don't require advanced setups and are in consistent demand in my local area. Now let's start with the fish. I initially started with a small colony of blue neon guppies. Guppies are live bearers, meaning they give birth to free-swimming fry, and they can reproduce at a very fast rate. I initially started with 3 males and 6 females because I wanted them to reproduce fast and have a lot of fry that I could sell out of. As for the shrimp, I have my blue dream neocaridina colony. They are another steady source of income, and unlike the traditional caridina shrimp, they're actually very hardy and can tolerate my local tap water, which is quite alkaline. Additionally, they're colorful and people generally love them for planted tanks. And once the colony actually stabilizes, it almost manages itself. Neocaridina are definitely the most popular type of freshwater shrimp where I live, and they are relatively cheap as well. But given their high demand, it also means that there are many different private suppliers around. I also sell out of my ramshorn snails. They're everywhere and they breed fast, and most people just want a few for cleaning. I sell them mainly to keep my own population under control. Now, as for plants, I also sell them, but with a focus on fast growers. Slow growing plants like Anubias and Bucephalandra take months to grow. They are extremely beautiful and they're in high demand, but due to the time it takes for them to grow, I do not consider them to be profitable. Instead, I sell Java moss, salvinia minima, riccia fluitans and rotala blood red. They grow fast, they're easy to trim and popular in the hobby. It is also quite a good thing that they're different types of plants as well. Having 2 different floating plants, a moss and also a fast growing stem plant, means that people will actually often buy different types of plants at the same time. Each of these actually play a big role in the ecosystem of the aquarium, but they also play a big role for the experiment. They can reproduce without interference from me, the plants can grow really fast without CO2 injection, but having the right things to sell is only one part of the story. It's also about how to sell it and how to present your products and your price adequately so your potential customer base returns to you rather than your closest competitor. Now we move on to demand and pricing strategy. And when it comes to making money from your aquarium, it's again not just about what you sell, it's just as much how you sell it as well. You can have the most beautiful fish, shrimp or plants in the world, but if you don't understand demand, pricing and presentation, they will probably never sell. I live in the capital of my country, and that means that there's a high population density in amongst the areas of where I live. And naturally, that also means that there's a larger local target audience. And that's actually very important because where you live will directly affect how easily you can sell your products. If you live out in the countryside with fewer people around you, buyers might not think it's worth the drive. Or your listings could simply get filtered out by distance when people search locally. So, understanding your area's demand and reach is extremely key. Before I put anything up for sale, I always make sure to check the local markets on Facebook Marketplace, aquarium hobbyist groups, or eBay, depending on where you are in the world. That will give me an idea of what private people are already selling and, more importantly, what people are actually buying. From there, I decide how to position my listings. It's always a good idea to keep your prices lower than official aquarium stores, not necessarily because you have to undercut them, but because that's what catches people's attention. Buyers expect other private sellers to offer better value, even if the difference is small. But you don't actually have to make your products cheaper in real terms. You can simply make them look cheaper. For example, I sell small portions of riccia fluitans at what seems like a very low price. On paper, it looks like I'm selling it for half of what the official store charges, but the difference is in the portion size. My portions are actually smaller, which means that the price per gram or per portion is roughly the same as in the stores, but it just appears cheaper at first glance. And that small psychological difference makes actually a very big impact. A lower looking price attracts attention and increases the number of people clicking your ad or messaging you. And once they're already in contact with you, it's much easier to sell them other items as well. This strategy lets me stay competitive without sacrificing any profit margin, and it's all about perception and presentation. Another pricing strategy I have employed is having a pull products. I sell salvinia minima at roughly 150 to 200% cheaper than anyone else in my area, which means that I make next to nothing of the salvinia alone. And while this may actually sound counterproductive, it's my pull product, as I mentioned, as in the one that attracts people to my listings in the first place. And once someone's already here to stop by for plants, they often end up buying even more while they're here. So maybe they come for the salvinia, but they leave with some rotala, java moss, or even a few blue dream shrimp as well. And from these two different pricing strategies of value perception and having a pull product, the sales will actually really start to add up. So, how well has this actually worked? We can start with the guppies. When I first bought them, I started with 9 fish, 3 males and 6 females, as I mentioned. The total cost was around 50 euros, which was 25 for the fish and another 25 for shipping. And from that single group, I've sold guppies worth around 166 euros, pricing them at roughly 8 euros each. That means I've made back my initial investment more than 3 times over at about a 230% return. And that's just from one small colony of fish in a single tank. And the reason I've been able to make this return is that I was already aware before buying the blue neons that there were no others in my country who sold them. I had them imported from France and could therefore set the market price in my area for myself. Then there is the Blue Dream neocaridina shrimp. I originally bought 10 shrimp for about 13 euros, and since then I've sold shrimp worth around 93 euros, which comes out to a roughly 615% return. However, the market for blue dreams is quite competitive where I live. There are many private sellers offering them for around the same price, which is roughly half of what the official aquarium stores charge. So instead of trying to undercut anyone, I priced mine at the same price that most of the people around me did, but here's where I gained an advantage over them: in presentation. Rather than using generic photos or stock images, I prioritized taking high quality photos of my own shrimp, showing their color, health and natural environment. And this simple change made my listing stand out and appear higher quality than most others, even though the price was identical. And the plants actually tell a very similar story. Fast growers like salvinia minima, rotala blood red, java moss and riccia fluitans have been the backbone of consistent small-scale profit. Their fast growers require almost no maintenance once established and can be trimmed and resold repeatedly without affecting the look of the tank or the balance of the ecosystem in the aquarium. I have only once had to throw out my trimmings. All other times in a year, I have been able to have orders in advance or have them placed in bags of 10 stems, and someone would reach out to buy them within 48 hours. So there have really been a lot of small-scale profit here, but it is worth it, especially when the alternative is the trash bin. Even the ram's horn snails, which many people actually consider to be pests, play their part. I sell them in small batches to other hobbyists, mainly to keep my own population under control. The profit here isn't really big, since I mainly use them as a way to give them for free to make the customers a good deal in their own eyes, but it still contributes to the bigger picture. The key here is to think long term. At first, you might only make a few euros here and there, but once your colonies of fish, shrimp, snails and plants start to stabilize and your listings will then start to get attention, it becomes surprisingly sustainable. For me, this one single tank now comfortably covers all of the running costs: food, fertilizer, electricity and even food to cocoa. And it even makes more than that, so I'm able to have a bit more money on the side for very ambitious projects which will soon be shown on the channel, so stay tuned. A few things can actually make a huge difference when it comes to actually selling what your aquarium produces. First, try to keep your ads active. If your colony slows down, don't delete your listing or take them off. Simply write something like temporarily sold out, pre-orders open, and in that way your ad still appears in search results and people can message you ahead of time. It keeps your name visible, it builds trusts and can even help you estimate what the demand is before your next batch is even ready. Next is pictures, because they matter a lot. It's extremely important in how you present your products. Pictures matters more than most people think, because they ultimately decide whether anyone will open your listing or not. I always take my own photos under the same light that my animals and plants live in. Never use stock or heavily edited ones, in order to keep my authenticity and build realistic expectations from the customer base. It's also very important that the size and amount is clearly stated, because in that way the honesty you present will save you a lot of messages and complaints later. And in such a competitive market, which it is in many capital regions, good authentic photos will make your listing stand out and people believe they're getting quality, which often matters more to them than lowering the price, because it makes your listing stand out as the one that's genuine, and that alone can be the difference between someone scrolling past or sending you a message. The last thing that can help you boost your sales is to write useful, transparent descriptions of the product. And when I write my descriptions, I always make sure to include the species name, the care level and the ideal tank conditions, but I also add a few extra keywords that people might search for, like beginner-friendly shrimp or fast-growing aquarium plants. That helps the listings reach more people in search results, and I also make sure to mention if a plant or animal prefers soft or hard water, or if it grows quickly or slowly, and I try to explain what makes them special in a simple and easy to understand way. The aim here is to be giving people confidence to buy from you. The more information and useful keywords you include, the more professional and trustworthy your ad looks, and then it's also more likely to be seen and clicked by the customer base. Additionally, the more information you have to give, the more people will actually pay for your products. So yeah, I'm honestly very surprised at how well this experiment has actually worked, and I never expected the whole tank to be economically self-sustaining in terms of the running costs of it, but it really has worked, and it just shows if you plan for it and if you choose the right species, then it can definitely work and even leave you a little bit of money to spare as well. So for me, what started as a simple test has turned into something that makes the hobby more sustainable for me. I don't have to worry as much about the ongoing costs, and that means I can put more time and money into building new and more creative projects. If you're thinking about trying this out for yourself, I'd recommend you start simple. Pick species that grow fast or breed easily, and pay attention to what people actually buy in your area, and lastly, make sure your listings look good. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be real. I hope this video have given you some ideas for how to make your own aquariums a little more self-sustaining. If you did enjoy it, or if you've ever tried something similar, let me know in the comments and let me know how it's worked out for you. Thank you for watching.